Hello, welcome to Game Rules of Conduct, as well as Lines and Veils. Disclaimer, this part is going to be boring as hell, but it needs to be done so we can have fun. RPG Consent Checklist. All players will be given a fillable checklist of all things they want or do not want to see in the game and must fill it out and return it before Session 1. Or Session 2, if under strange circumstances. Or if they just forgot. But definitely before Session 3 and the whole plot is already locked in. Yes, definitely before that. Player behavior, game behavior, and DM/GM/ST expectations. Technical issues. All players must be able to reliably access and use the two digital mediums by which this game will be run upon. Those two digital mediums are Foundry VTT and Discord. Each player will have the use of these mediums gone over with them during their intake session, with extra instructions add/given to those to whom use of these mediums may be a challenge. If, after all best efforts have been made in good faith by both player and GM/ST and an inability to reliably access/use these two mediums, then the player will be asked to leave the game until such a time as they can utilize these mediums to the best of their ability. This one is for boomers. Side note to technical issues. This rule has also been expanded to include reliable internet connections and possibly even the use of headphones and microphones if their normal means of communication is for some reason causing issues with reliable play. Side note to technical issues. The GM/ST recognizes that some of us live in Florida, Texas, or other third world countries/counties, and sometimes things happen beyond your control. Players will not be punished for acts of God, government, war, or missed internet payments. Things happen. But if said things are continuing to happen over and over again, then they will need to revisit the idea of said player taking a break from the game until reliable play can be established once more. Recording sessions. The GM/ST will be recording sessions from time to time for his own personal notes. These recordings will not be publicly available or published on the internet, YouTube, or any other publicly available sites or locations. If such a thing were to happen, then the voices on the recordings would either be dubbed or the proper permissions will be gotten from all parties involved before said recordings will ever be put up onto the internet for public use in general. Note, for those who cannot be contacted, significant efforts have been made to contact all individuals, and said individuals have not been tracked down, and for some reason proper dubbing has not been done to hide their identities, then the recordings will be put up, and if said individuals want to make an issue of it, they can contact said GM/ST using the usual channels, and appropriate measures will be made to either compensate or remove said recordings. Discord etiquette. Today's internet landscape, programs like Discord, Messenger, Alchemy, Roll20, and other relevant means of DMing your friends that escape my ancient Gen Xer's mind, incessantly jumping in every time a player or GM takes a breath is a great way to just create noise over the audio channel. Because we are speaking over the internet, without the benefit of physical cues, it's more important than ever that we do not speak over each other. Please allow time for the internet's latency to ensure that a speaker has finished their thought and is not just pausing for breath or effect. Counting to 6 before responding is a great metaphorical talking stick to ensure order. If said chat is required, then please use any and all available player text channels or just DM each other directly if it has nothing to do with the game. Alcohol, narcotics, and pot. Please do not show up drunk or stoned again. It'll make it hard for you to catch all the jokes we're throwing out there at your expense. Cell phones and digital devices. If an emergency happens, feel free to take a phone call. but otherwise, please put it on silent or do not disturb. Player attention. Please do. But the GM has ADHD, so he feels it's hypocritical to ask his players for 100% focus every second of the game. Just focus when you need to. PC secrets. Not from the GM. Other players, fine, but not from the GM. He might want to help you keep his secrets, or expose it. But regardless, the GM knows all. So yeah. Player expectations. Everyone will be given a chance during Session 0 to express their desires for the future game, and the GM/SD will do everything in their power to make it happen. If you feel that your desires are not being met, then please feel free to speak up. Player discomfort. If anything happens in-game that makes a player feel uncomfortable in any way for any reason, please feel free to speak up immediately. Or send the GM/SD a message to talk to him about it later. Regardless of whatever else is going on, this game is being run for fun. If fun is not being had, there's no point to any of this. Signals. Sometimes things get heated or passionate in-game in order to make sure that everyone is having fun. And just playing in character, we will have these signals that the GM/SD/other players can text or just other players straight out. Green, just in character, everything is okay. I'm not upset. Yellow, I'm a little upset, but don't want to stop the game right now, and I would like to talk about it once we're done with this scene/game/etc. Red, stop, because this shit just got too real, triggering, upsetting. Player agency. Players should always feel like they have agency over their character. In the Exalted 3E game, they have the red rule, which is on page 222 of the Exalted 3E core book. In almost all aspects, the Exalted 3E game doesn't mechanically distinguish between storyteller characters and those the players control. Here's the exception. A player-controlled character can only be seduced or otherwise put in a sexual situation if the player is okay with it. Otherwise, any such attempt fails automatically. This is completely up to the player's discretion, and they can waive this rule's protections if they want their character to be seduced, if they think it would improve the story, or for whatever reason. This is entirely up to the player. And on an attempt-by-attempt basis, waiving the rule once does not void your ability to call on it later against the same character, or even in the same scene. If no one in your group ever invokes this rule, that's also fine. But players don't have to watch their characters put into sexual situations they're not comfortable with. Groups that feel comfortable with doing so should allow player characters the full range of their seductive prowess when entangled with storyteller-controlled characters. Although remember, the storyteller is also a player, and their boundaries should be respected. Game balance and fairness. The GM/SD will work his best to follow the rules and keep everything balanced and fair for everyone. If the player feels that something is unfair, please speak up and we will discuss it. If the player feels that something is unfair, please speak up and we can discuss it. But we may have to chat about it outside of game, so you might have to endure the rule you don't like until we can speak. Spotlight sharing. The GM/SD will do everything to make sure that everyone gets a chance to shine. It is a role-playing game after all. If you feel a player is hogging the spotlight, please feel free to speak up and either in-game or off it with the GM/SD. Type of game. This is a social game. It's an ensemble cast. From time to time, the plot will not revolve around your character, and you'll be expected to interact and participate in the plots of other players. This is an inevitable part of playing in a group. The GM/SD will always try and give everyone something to do and interact with, but sometimes things will get out of hand. If you feel like you are being overshadowed or pushed too far to the side, please let the GM/SD know, and we will try and work your character into more stories and more scenes. Meta knowledge. Please don't use it to derail or destroy the story. If you know where the plot is going, feel free to speak to the GM about it outside of game. But please do not spoil the other player's enjoyment by spilling the beans that the Emerald Empress is actually a man. Whoops, see? Now the whole plot line is spoiled for you. See how it feels? Good thing it's not true. Or is it? Regardless, don't do it. Min-maxing. Fun and story are our focus. Just make a character you'll have fun playing. If that means min-maxing, cool. But not at the expense of the enjoyment of the others. Character party fit. No lone wolves. You can be a wolf all you want, but remember, you run in a pack. Players can request to have some solo stories or adventures, but never at the expense of the group's storytelling or experience. Murder hobos. Please don't. Alignment. No assholes. No cannibals. No sadists. Please make something that cares or at least partially gives a shit about the world and the people. You can have all the dark, brooding, past hatred and PTSD problems you want, but you still have to care about the other players and the world. Other behavioral rules. It doesn't matter if saying the word yellow freaks out one player and it's literally your favorite color and you find a way to work it into every sentence somehow. If another player doesn't like it, don't use it. That being said, some of us grew up cursing like sailors. So long as a sincere effort is made by the player to curb their behavior, the GM/SD will not take punitive action, but he will take this on a case-for-case basis and perhaps suggest that one of the players moves to a different game. One thing of note. The above rule is to be observed within reason. Accommodations should always be made for different people's needs, but again, not at the expense of the group. Player absentees/tardiness. More than 3 no-shows or last-minute no-shows will not be tolerated, and the player will be asked to leave the game. That said, things happen. Life tosses us curveballs, and sometimes we just can't predict when a shark is going to suddenly land on our Hava Civic. Again. Fucking fish cannibals. So please, if you need to be absent, please let the GM/SG know ahead of time. Similarly with tardiness, but more exceptions can be made because life is hard. Pet peeves. If you have pet peeves, please speak up. My personal pet peeves are players who constantly show up late to game, or just don't show up at all and leave the GM/SD and the players just holding the bag because somehow their character is central to the plot and the game can't continue without them. Not that I have any specific examples or anything, it's just saying. Also, players who constantly talk over other players and the GM/SD. Please don't do that. Everyone desires to be heard, even if they're wrong or just stupid, but mostly the first one. Gender identity. If the player has a specific gender identity that they wish to be identified as, all they have to do is speak up and that is how they will be referred to. Just please be patient with some of us older Gen Xers who still struggle with the vernacular but desperately want to be an ally. Special note. For those trying to subvert the system, anyone trying to make fun of this by insisting that they identify as a car, helicopter, dog, tank/god better have a damn good reason for it. Otherwise, no. Attraction and sexual orientation. If the players don't want NPCs or other players/characters to hit on them, then speak up and it will not happen. Period. If the GM/SD fucks up and forgets, you get a free XP and a sincere apology. If that happens twice, the GM/SD will post a YouTube video of himself getting punched in the balls. Also, I'm pretty sure everyone is bisexual in these anime-style games, so sexual orientation will not be discriminated against in these games. And if you feel it is, please speak up and see the previous statement on apologies and ball kicking. If you're cool with it, great! There are plenty of opportunities for you to perfect your virtual game on NPCs in-game. See sex, rape, and sexual assault below for more details. Sex, rape, and sexual assault. I will not lie, the GM/SD likes him some cheesecake, so expect to see a lot of pretty boys and pretty girls in the game. The one thing you will not see is explicit sex scenes. Sorry, that's a different game, and I'm not the one running it, and I can't invite you. There's a vetting process, and even I don't make the cut. But the point is, if your character wants to succeed at getting their freak on with another character slash NPCs, we will always fade to black. Rape and sexual assault will be represented in the game, but it will not be glorified. And it will not happen to or be committed by the PCs, period. Dead stop. Do not pass go. Go directly to the fuck out of my game. Note on magical powers and other exalted skills. Some magical powers and other exalted skills might skirt or break the rules of consent. In such cases, the GM/SD will take it on a case-per-case basis and will point it out when he sees it and expects other players to point it out as well when they do and no one else does. Villainous and villainous-like behavior. Many of these sci-fi slash high fantasy, there will be slaves and a lot of villainous or people acting villainously like behavior in it. The GM/SD will not sugarcoat this in the game universe, but makes a solemn vow to never glorify it. If he does, see Kicked in the Balls above for more details. Racism, prejudice. In game, there'll be plenty of that, and the players will have to deal with it. I mean, no one likes dwarves for a reason. But out of game, between other players, it will not be tolerated. Customizable plots. The GM/SD will do everything in his power to create customizable plots and interweave all players' backstories into one another. But that could take time, or worse yet, simply not be realistic. Please know I will do everything I can to customize the plots so that everyone has fun, but the overall enjoyment of the group is what matters. In-game adventures. Players can expect plenty of opportunities for role-playing, action, drama, romance, if they want it, and excitement. In-game politics and factions. Only if the players want it. Otherwise, this will be less empathized. Empathized? Well, you get the point. Rules debates. Some discussion is fine, but the GM/SD's word is final. But he is open to some discussion. See game balance and fairness above. No means no. If you request a very specific plot or type of character that you really want to play, I will listen to it and try my best to accommodate you. However, not every plot or character will work in a game already established, and so from time to time you will hear the word no. The GM/SD is aware that this is a word that gamers historically hear as no unless I can convince you otherwise. But if this word is used twice, then it most certainly means no. As in, no, you cannot have a customizable plot where you just sodomize a building for 2 hours. And no, this is not a sci-fi slash fantasy slash heroic slash horror game, and you can't play that here at this time. I'm sorry. All players will be given a chance to give their elevator pitch. But you will be given at first a soft no once, then a hard no, and if a third no is required, then you will likely be booted from the game. My apologies, as I know players love to argue. But this GM/SD has had to endure one too many sessions where players refuse to accept rulings simply because I don't like it. Start/standing. Players will make their characters in full, and all players will be part of the same adventuring group, as well as be given extra starting intimacy/connections to represent their already standing relationships with the other characters. Character context. Characters will be given and have gone over with them a character handout that tells them everything they already know about the world. Death. It will happen. To you, to the other players, and especially to the NPCs. You should know that GM/ST does not want anyone to die, but he will not stop it from happening if the PCs decide to challenge one of the 5 elemental gods right out of the gate to a one-on-one brawl. I mean, At least wait till session 25 or something, so it's at least an interesting fight before the god of fire tears out your insides and roasts them on the spit for all the world to see. As always, think of the fun of the group before doing something like this. Resurrection. In games where resurrection is common, it's cool. In games where resurrection is not a common or semi-regular occurrence, then if the entire group wants to go on an epic quest to rescue the player's soul from the underworld and plead with some ancient god to put the player's soul back into their body so they can live again, I'm cool with it. Outside of that, if you die, you better make a deal with a Death Lord or demon, cause otherwise you're not coming back. Submissions. Items submitted to the GM/ST for use in the game will become the property of the Game Master, for use in any publications that they might wish to create in the future. If players do not want anything they submit to belong to the GM/ST, then they need to get them on a recorded medium of some kind, paper, video, audio, etc., that says otherwise before each submissions are given. All that being said, the whole point of this long, over-explained list is to help facilitate fun and companionship. At its core, this is a game, and the Oxford Dictionary classifies this as a form of play or sport, especially a competitive one, played according to rules and decided by skill, strength, or luck, or in a complete episode or period of play, ending in a definitive result. Both these definitions include the word play. And while the word fun isn't in there, I feel like it is implicitly implied. So, if no one is having it, there's no point in us playing. In conclusion, if the players have anything else they want to add or discuss further, please bring it up in session 0, and we can add or change anything that they feel goes against the fun of the game.